you're funky. Shake it. So funky that you just can't take it. Then go on. Use or lose your thing. You got to use or lose your thing.
Hey, Richard.
They are celebrating you all over the walls, which is great. Very cool.
I know, it's amazing.
Yeah.
And I've never even been here before. This is the Tom's Diner in Brooklyn.
You're not still with EMI anymore, or still with a label, or no?
I am no longer with a major label. I've started my own label called Amanuensis Productions.
What's it called?
It's called Amanuensis
What is
Productions.
this?
An amanuensis is a scribe. It's someone who takes dictation, basically. It's like it's like an old-fashioned word for secretary. Amanuensis to me sounds really beautiful. Because when I write a song and I'm in the flow of writing, sometimes it feels as though I'm receiving dictation from some other source, you know, some larger source.
Okay.
So I have a little logo with myself with like a quill pen, sort of, and my glasses, and
You're the secretary
I'm
in the
the
logo?
secretary, yes, I'm taking it all
awesome.
down. And so I kind of liked it because a scribe was usually a servant back in the day. So I thought it was very clever because by establishing Amanuensis Productions, I get to own the masters.
Yes.
So I thought it was kind of funny that the servant gets to own the masters of the productions. So there's all this kind of inside jokes.
That's hardcore. You just put a lot of thought into it.
All of my old CDs, pretty much all of them, except for Solitude Standing, are all going out of print.
Out of physical print.
Out of physical print.
Right.
And my contract with A&M is over. So if I want them to re-release anything, I would have to go back and fight with them, argue with them, hire lawyers and pay money and do all of that.
Sure.
So the reason I'm re-recording everything is so that I can own the masters myself. I can sell them until the end of my life.
And make
my
those
life
decisions
works.
quickly, too.
And back 25 years ago, when I signed with A&M, I never would have asked to own them. You know, I got my usual 12 to 15% of the profits.
Did you ever see any of that, though? I mean, other than publishing, which I know we all see from Record One. But
I made money from the first two albums.
I always wonder about that. Like,
yeah,
even
sure, I
because
did.
I've heard stories even
still
about
do.
really big records that don't, you know, it just, with all the advertising and all the things that keep mounting.
I made some money. I made enough money that I could buy an apartment and stuff like that. You know, they don't, you know, it doesn't, people have this funny idea that once you've made it, you're sort of like over the rainbow.
Yeah.
If I show up in Phil's van, people are like, but you've had this big hit. But, you know,
Here's
people
the
are like, where's your
Phil's
limousine?
van.
Right, Phil's van. But people are like, you know, they think you're going to drive around in a limousine for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's not really the case. That's not really what it's all about.
How are you re-recording the new stuff? Are you doing some solo things? Are you
Mostly
reinventing
solo.
arrangements?
Most of it is myself and the guitar. Some of it is how I originally wrote the songs. Some of them are things that I have redone now that I've been touring so much live. In this new economy, I've been touring in a very stripped-down way, so it's usually just myself and the guitar, or myself and Mike Viseglia on bass, or myself and Jerry Leonard on guitar.
There's like 3 different records.
It's actually four.
Oh,
Four
okay.
different ones, yeah.
And what are they? How are you separating the songs?
When I sing live, I try to group the songs together by theme, usually in ways that are sort of unexpected. So I started to realize that a lot of the songs could be grouped by themes. And so I decided to put the first album as love songs. So that's like Caramel, If You Were in My Movie, Gypsy.
I love Gypsy so much.
Thanks.
I used to sit back and listen to that backstage when I was waiting for the show, you know. You did it near the end. You did either that or Queen and the Soldier, I remember, in this one slot.
In the one slot,
yeah.
it's sort of acoustic section.
I've always held a theory that all songwriters write the same 4 songs or 5 songs over and over again. You know, like it's like a...
I guess I'm proving your theory.
Well, I don't know. I've always thought that. I don't like to script my performance, but I always like to think of things in categories, just like you were saying, like you did Queen and the Soldier and Gypsy in that one category in the set.
Yeah.
I feel like I know the 5 things I'm good at, and I don't want to do any one of them for too long. You know, you just keep switch, and then when you circulate past the fifth one, you start over again.
Well, to give a good performance, you want to kind of alternate it between
Yes.
doing things that have a common thread and then contrasting things.
Yes.
You know, so
Well,
that's how. And I didn't like the idea of like, oh, I'm going to re-record my whole first album because. The cool thing about this is you get to hear old songs right up against new songs.
Yes.
And you see the thread that binds them together.
Yeah, it's a more organic thread anyway. I don't like the recreation thing either. And I don't like the Astro Weeks live version that Van Morrison did. His voice is different now, and especially that record, which is such a fresh-sounding record. It's such a
real
breezy.
classic record.
Yeah, it's amazing. Didn't
being
Van Morrison like look you up one time on the road, or?
Okay, I'll tell the Van Morrison story. It was in Liverpool in 1987. I was playing some venue, and I went to sign autographs afterwards, and there was some guy there, and I guess Van Morrison was playing up the road. And he said, Van sent me to tell you that he's a really big fan of yours and that he'd really like to meet you and say hello. You know, I just said, oh, I'm staying at this and that hotel. I'll be at the bar. Like, send him over.
Right.
Cool, you know. So we were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for like hours at the bar. Finally, it's like the whole place is like closing down. And finally, we see the door swing open, and here comes Van Morrison walking through the door. And I'm like, oh my God, he really showed up. He sits down, he looks me right in the face, and he goes, I just want to tell you that I really like your lyrics. They have a really profound effect on me. And I said, well, thanks. Wow, it's so great to meet you. We've been waiting, and I wasn't sure if you're going to show up, and it's really great to see you. And I want you to meet my bass player, Mike, because he's a huge fan of yours. And Mike stands up, and he extends his hand to Van Morrison. And Van Morrison gets up, twirls around, and leaves the room, leaving Mike standing there with his hand extended like that. And we're just like...
That was it?
And I've seen him a few times since then, and it's like no recognition, it was like it never happened. It was
That's
like
really
it was like we're
strange.
utter strangers to each other now.
I have a friend who grew up in Marin County, and Van Morrison lived down the street, but nobody ever saw him. And her parents threw this barbecue one time, like they were having this huge pool party. And just to be polite to the neighbors, they put an invitation in everyone's mailbox. They didn't expect Van Morrison would come, but he was the first one there.
Oh my God!
It was like noon.
And was he in his three-piece suit with his hat and his sunglasses and his scarf, sweating?
It's a funny thing you
live?
should ask. He was wearing a leather tasseled suit, and it was 90 degrees in Marin County for a pool party.
Yeah.
And he
I'm
dove
sorry,
into
but
the.
that sounds like pure Van Morrison to me.
Yeah, he's famous for it.